I was trying to talk about here is building block. We have heard the good things people are doing, but we're not talking about the structure of what the county could be doing in terms of establishing priorities. And making lists is not an approach that works. It's the connectivity. As I've heard twice, paradigm shift. I never thought I'd hear the word paradigm shift by two different people in a county meeting, but we're not really at a paradigm shift. We're kind of we got a paradigm, but we're not sure what it's doing. And I think here that we need to come back also to the question of, is there a possibility of working together, we hear it over and over again, where the county truly plays a role? The county, I'm not talking about the different entities that get funded out there here and here, can use some letter of recommendation and so forth. But to put out there that the county will do something or can do something, maybe something we really need in this particular era of reduced expectations and certainly reduced resources. We need to step back and say, look, we're having a hard enough time doing things already. Economic development, great. But I just wonder when you talk about Kansas, Don, do they have a building code out there that is invoked out in the plains of Kansas? I know Alabama doesn't. Alabama, I'm hearing all the time about the wonderful things that are being done in Alabama. The reason that they're wonderful and being done is because half of them fall down in 5 years, half the buildings fall down. Exaggerate a little bit, but they're certainly doing a lot of innovative things with recycled materials. But we couldn't even begin to do that here, even with our very generous kind of open structure. So I would like to see a little more attention being paid to people, capital, regionalism, and the basic theories of economic development that we are not invoking here, because all these other projects are going to be taken care of, like the running back who really just wants us to stay out of the way. The good projects will go forward, I think. The ones that can work in this environment will work. It doesn't need our interference. On the other hand, if we can come up with some ideas that allow us to put together a new paradigm, truly, then it's going to have to take into account we're short on capital, we're short on personnel with certain characteristics, and we're short of the kind of infrastructure, transportation, and electronic that we would take for granted in most environments. Each one may be solvable, but we really have to be addressing those, and we're not.
I could just clarify that one of the reasons why we wanted to have this discussion is precisely because there is not a belief that the county can and should handle all of these things. And, you know, in terms of the direction I'm talking about, I believe that we can help connect and bring things forward to you for your action, but I want to be very clear that it is not saying that, yes, we're going to do a biomass study. Yeah, we'll help schedule it. We'll talk with whoever's going to do it or help point where some funding would be. But no, there's no sense that that is something that county staff should be doing. But that's why we need to have this conversation, because I think over the years there have been different thoughts about what the role of the county is. And we would like to get clear, because it's very hard to fill positions or to deal with that if we don't have that clarity.
Michael.
The D, E, F, G, and H on our list here that you threw out a moment ago, those are the areas that we can work. West Company, EDFC, the Web, they do a wonderful job at expansion and assistance. They're great. And then as Mark said, heck out of our way. But what we can't is on that infrastructure. And where can we focus our efforts? You know, utilities is another one, and maybe we ought to be putting more pressure on PG&E to get things together there so that roadblock is out of the way. There's an employer in my district that, for an example, is trying to expand, add more employees doing an actual manufacturing job, but can't get a new power line. That hurts all of us. That was nothing I was going to say on it. What got?
Getting older.
Well, I had it, but I had to
Don't worry,
wheel
it
it down
gets
there.
worse.
If we can, if that information can come back to us, we have to fix our process as well, because if someone that tries to go into the county and get the permits and go through the bureaucracy, and a lot of it's outside of our control, granted, but a lot of it's in our control. And those efforts to streamline that and make that process easier, there are examples where we have done a wonderful job, and there's examples where we've not been as stellar. I'm trying to improve upon that aspect of it too, but then it comes down to Supervisor Pinch's said, and he's not to speak, so probably stealing his thunder here, but as a board, when we make the decisions and approvals, if we keep denying projects and finding ways to say no, we're not going to get there either. We have to try to find the ways to say yes, and making the projects, if they need to be tweaked, they need to be changed, help get there. But we can't keep trying to say no because there's somebody out there that may not like something when the majority says, hey, this is something that's going to be good. It's going to be good for the county. It's going to be good for the citizenry. It's going to be good for the folks that are going to be working there. It's going to be good for our bottom line as well. That's the things we need to take into consideration too. And I'm not so sure that always happens.
Thank you. Kendall.
Oh, thank you. Just to hit a couple things since you wanted board input. I think we need to get on with this redevelopment overview discussion that you said you were going to bring to the board, so the board can have a better understanding of redevelopment, how we can partner with the cities and make sure it's inclusive and countywide. I think we need to explore the concept that Jesse's talking about the possibility of enterprise zones. Does that make any sense for the county to be involved with? And one thing we haven't talked much about here today, it's only been hit on, I think 2 people said it, and we didn't really speak a lot about it, is the concept of affordable housing and how we're going to integrate that into economic development. What about getting a housing trust going, and what role could the county play with the public-private partnerships in order of getting a housing trust off the ground? And as Supervisor Colfax mentioned, the broadband discussion, what role does the county play in that? I've gotten several emails that are saying, so county, when are you going to figure out a way, and what is the way, how are you going to partner with the process that Humboldt is undertaking with the grant, the $500,000 grant that they got to explore broadband in this northern region? So what role can the county play to sort of extend that conversation and move it forward? Because that's a critical one in the outlying areas to push that discussion along. And I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to take some effort. But what is the county role? I think one thing we might look at is a little bit, I looked into it a little bit, the Sonoma County model and how they've got a wide range and a broad, large discussion going with all kinds of constituencies and partners. Could the county convene such a thing? Does that make sense or no? And getting this economic development coordinator fully, getting that advertising extended, doing what we need to do to get that position filled, so that person can be at the helm of looking at all these aspects of the project.
Thank you. Supervisor Pinchuk.
Well, when it comes down to things that the county can do for economic development, as Dawn said, to do a project that really takes an individual or company to come and do it. But the things where Mendocino County, and this board in particular, land use decisions. First of all, our general plan is going on 8 years late. It was supposed to have been updated in 2000. It's 2008. Just by getting the housing for the affordable housing part done, that is already